Yeah, we don't have a grip team. Where's the grip?
Where's the group?
Where's Crafty
And then you have the
Table?
credits at the end, you know, giving everybody, so they had a title of what they were doing, because they were part of it, right?
Yeah.
So we wanted to hello and welcome everybody, for those who have been part of the channel as well as those who might be tuning in. My name is Christina.
And I'm Ryan.
And what we wanted to do as kind of an episode 1 is we kind of wanted to bring the community up to speed on the channel, from history to where we're at now. And what we were hoping we could do is just kind of have this jam session. And I'm going to call this episode 1 because we might take this forward. We haven't decided, but I'm going to go over a few things. So what I'm going to do is chime off right now, just some topic things that maybe me and you can discuss.
Sure.
And again, this will bring the community kind of up to speed on what's happened from previous and where we're at now. So this will make sense in a moment. So what I've done is it's not questions, it's topics.
Yeah.
So first one is, what happened in 2023 and 2024? YouTube has changed. Shorts versus long videos. Funds have changed. We've moved again. Why? YouTube at the beginning versus now. Mm-hmm. You know, what was it like being on YouTube, you know, back 4 or 5 years ago versus what it feels like now? We wanted to also talk about some new content ideas. So we were thinking of kind of going through that a little bit deeper in regards to perhaps recycling, cooking, entertaining, life topics, mental health. So we'll get a little bit more into that. But I think it would be really healthy to hear what the community has to.
I think so too.
The next one was trends versus classics. And I say that from my own personal experience on YouTube as a viewer. Like when you're going through videos and you're kind of going through what's popular, what's not, what's been classics, you know, the everydays that everybody has, and what has historically kind of been, you know, popular. And there is audience polls versus, I've been trying to do this, polls to what the audience wants to see more from the channel.
Yeah.
And also what our studio analytics tells us. So they can be quite contrasted. So I thought maybe we could, you know, talk a little bit about that. And we also wanted to talk, where is Hatley? And Hatley is a standard poodle that we have. 2025 plans and testing ideas of things that we were thinking about, you know, maybe rolling into the new year in regards to things that we thought might be a little bit more fun, you know, liven things. It's always fun when you're not sure what's behind the curtain.
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
And then I also really wanted to talk also about a long version versus short version videos. I am always stumped on, should I make a long video? Because this way I can articulate a lot more detail. I can even do repeats on certain steps when I'm doing certain types of videos. But then I feel like from an algorithm standpoint, what happens is short term seems to be, because I know how that feels. You're scrolling and you only have a few moments of time. You see the timestamp of a video, and if it's 20, 30, 40 minutes, you're like, I don't have time for this.
So we'll get into those ones. That was tough, yeah.
Yeah, so let's go back to number 1. So number 1 is, what happened in 2023 and 2024? So so I think in a more abbreviated way of saying that, we were always consistently filming and posting.
Yeah, we're pretty consistent. I think 2023 was an interesting year for everyone around the world. I mean, we started...
Sorry, what year?
2023.
I was going to say 2020.
Well, yeah, if you want to talk about the pandemic and all that.
Like, it's well, the reason I guess I go back to the pandemic is because it kind of just threw everybody in left field. And we've been trying to get things back since then, rhythmically. And a lot of other topics have fallen into, it's been difficult. Yeah. And difficulties. So, but sorry, go on.
No, so I mean, you're right. Like, I mean, things started in 2020 and we had the pandemic. we were just coming out of that around 2022, going into 2023.
Yeah.
And then we saw that things were happening from a global economic standpoint. We were having
changes.
Yeah, lots of changes. We had inflation started to happen.
Interest
rates were going up, and
supply and demand.
Yeah, we had supply shortage change. So a lot of the things that people were experiencing, from getting items, looking at food and groceries, those type of things, everything was going up.
Yeah.
Interest rates were going up, so our mortgage rates were going up.
And if we kind of just go back into that moment just before the economic change.
Yeah.
Okay, when we were in kind of the thick of the pandemic for a moment, I'm not gonna lie, I was having fun at home.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating the pandemic. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is it was kind of a refreshment to be at home, and the fact that we already had the channel, and it was small.
Yeah.
But it was a place for us to kind of focus.
Yeah, all our energy is into that.
You know, what could we do around the house? What could we do just to, you know, every single day was kind of this creative day of what could I do? And because we were in a lockdown, and even for me, because you already work from home.
Yeah.
But for me, when we started going back to work, we couldn't all just go back to our regular hours because there was restrictions. There was restrictions to how many people could be in the office.
Yeah.
You know, healthcare rules were changing as far as how many people and how many patients we're allowed to see. So it was almost a whole year before I could really go back to work. You know,
yeah, and that gave us a lot of opportunities to create a lot of the videos. So that's where we were doing a lot of the DIY home decor, the furniture, painting, things like that. So that happened a lot. So that's why it was a good time for us to develop and grow the channel.
Yep.
At that time, and that's where we had, you know, the fans out there. You know, we saw that there was a regular following of people coming along.
Yeah.
With subscribers and just getting that interaction in the comments. We saw a lot of people doing the same thing we were doing. They were stuck at home.
Yeah.
So this channel was a good outlet for creativity, for people to learn something, maybe try something new.
Yep.
And so that's what grew.
I think everybody was sharing that common denomination, right? And it's always fun to see what other households are doing and how they're doing it, and sharing that idea and inspiration about try this or try that, or if there was a specific style or technique involved, you know, really honing in and zeroing in on all of that. Yeah. So it was actually very, very fun.
It was fun, and it helped us because we were at home. Like you said, I was working from home. You couldn't go to work because of the office and the restrictions, and we were also dealing with an ailing puppy, you know, an old dog. And so that gave us that time and opportunity to stay with Napoleon and stay with him and have that time. So that was great for us.
Yep.
And then, you know, things happened and went along, and then, you know, the pandemic kind of let's say, you know, the restrictions kind of eased off. People started going back to work.
Here's one thing, and it's from a personal standpoint though. Going back to work for me, right? And you were actually, because there was some layoffs, so there's more responsibilities being added onto you.
There was, so yeah.
And this is where I brought the proposal to you.
Yeah.
That do we want to move from the coast? To Vancouver Island? Because if we move to the island, right? We're going to have a few cities to choose from. There's going to be more vastness. There's easier airport access for you. Just because you have to travel, you have work travel stints that you have to do. So this was from a personal standpoint. This is behind the scenes of about, you know, where's the economics going to be going. And I mean, we loved where we were. But we were really remote.
We were very remote, and then, you know what, like you said, going back to work, getting back into traveling and things like that, going to a closer environment.
I feared
change was good.
That the office was for sale. The dental office
you had the other thing with it.
And there's not a lot of dental offices, and we've been having a lot of corporates buying the dental offices. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but where it was going, I just felt like for my own freedom to be in dentistry, because it's a working family, that if a lot of change is happening and things aren't gelling, where am I going to go? So we had that difficult conversation of sitting down and deciding, would this be an opportunity for us to
grow and move on,
you know, even in our own lives.
Yeah.
So that's when we decided that we'll move to the island, and we bought the historic home.
Yeah. So we did took the plunge, just like many others. So at the time, the markets were pretty favorable for people to leave and sell their homes.
Yeah.
So we did, and we took that plunge and we moved to the historic home,
Which was
it was a beautiful home. It was
stunning.
It was a 130-year-old historic red brick home, which is very unique in British Columbia. And we thought, hey, you know what? This might take the channel we can take the audience to an adventure, and to put that into renovations and to do a lot of fun stuff. But that's where
everything changed.
So we went there.
Not all bad, but a lot of things changed, and I think it was because a lot of things changed so fast.
So what happened was we basically kind of packed our bags, got to the island, and then we said we had all these plans, and you started going on to and you showed the audience about a couple of events. You made some good home decor projects or renovations around the house. You painted the house, the historic home, from black trim to white trim to, we just cleaned it up.
There was a few changes.
And then we were going to do some more, and then inflation happened. Then
Raphael passed away.
Then we had a sudden,
and that kind of took the wind out of the sails.
That took the wind out of our sails. Like, I mean, we did not expect Raphael to go.
Yeah.
And that
he
was
sadly passed on. He had thrombocytopenia.
It was very fast. It was only about within less than 7 days.
Yep.
And it caught us.
But I think the thrombocytopenia was also because it was brought on by something else. Because it's not that it can't be treated, but if there is something that's pushing and causing that.
Yeah, it was very
lethal.
Yeah, it wasn't anything we could do. We tried to help.
We threw the kitchen sink at it.
Yeah, and it didn't work.
And this is unfortunately what life sometimes does. And, you know, we both kind of sat back going, between a move, you know, a recent passing of Napoleon. And like there's this whole, like, it's like when your plate just starts piling up and piling up and piling up, and a lot of big decisions, a lot of responsibilities, even outside of the channel.
Yeah.
So
lots of things happened.
Yeah.
We had all those things happen in the background of our plans for the house.
Yeah.
And
then I looked at you one day, not even a year into living in this home, and I looked at you and I said, I want to sell the house.
Yeah.
And you kind of looked at me with almost a sigh of relief, but confusion at the same time, because
where'd you go?
We just got here.
Yeah.
What do you mean? And it's like, well, you know, we had price quotes for this home. We had a whole budget line.
Yeah.
And everything has changed 30-40%. Yeah. Our mortgage has almost doubled.
Well, it was a lot of changes because, like everyone else experienced with the interest rate changes, inflation was going up. The plans that we had for the home, we were going to do things like put a heating and cooling system in it, and improve on the storm windows, improve on kind of the home itself. And that was what it was.
The bones were there. Yeah. It just needed to go to the next level.
And we wanted to bring the channel with us, and that was part of the adventure. We wanted to bring everyone along with what we were going to do. So, you know, we had a couple of videos.
Do you remember the winter?
The winters were cold because we knew that the home needed some certain heating and cooling systems. Yeah. You know, single pane windows. These are original windows for this home. It was beautiful. You can actually see the ripple in the glass because it was so old, over 130 years. So you can actually see that glass.
What is that called when it does that?
So it's a glass. So glass is actually a liquid. In fact, everyone knows some of that. If not sure if everyone does, but it does slowly move over time. But you can actually see the ripple in some of the windows in our home.
It was pretty. Yeah.
It was really cool, and we did get some quotes for not to replace them, but to actually put storm windows, so that would give another insulation. And
they had to be framed.
Yeah, and we had it all quoted, and we also got quoted for the heating and cooling system and some of the little room makeovers we were doing. We were going to do all this and bring it on the channel, but then
Do you know what happened though?
We got these rates happening.
What happened though is everything was happening so fast. And I already had things all planned out. And then I had to, based on pricing and new prices that were constantly being shown, I basically had to go back and keep recalculating what I could do.
What we could do, and then we knew
because I'm not going in debt.
Yeah.
On top of what we have to keep afloat, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, there was a lot of things that happened, and we can see, like, we saw. Remember, we were getting a rate change from the mortgage every like literally every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And everyone was experiencing the same thing. We were talking to our friends. We were like, yeah, the interest rates are going up, our mortgages are going up.
Yeah.
And we were getting the quotes and for the activities that we wanted to do, the windows and the heating and cooling, like we mentioned. And they were saying they were going to go up by 30%.
It was crazy.
It wasn't a good, everything was just not at a good point for us to go forward. And we decided to sell. It made sense.
It was hard.
It was a hard decision.
But here's the big question mark. Here's the big question mark. Where do you want to move?
Well, that's the thing.
So now you feel like you're on this raft.
Yeah.
We love the island. We're glad we came to the island, but now we have to explore and figure out what a new plan is. And this is your life. This is your home. So it was just a lot. And then we took Pascal.
Yes.
We found Hatley. We took Pascal.
Yeah,
so here's another portion of the plan that really wasn't part of the plan, but you got this new puppy.
Yeah. The plan was to keep, at the plan at the time, moving in, we had Raphael and our cat.
Yeah.
And we thought, okay, we'll give Raphael his, he's becoming a senior, give him his life, and then we decided to get Hatley, which was Raphael's brother from the same litter. Yeah. And it was just a perfect story for us. The breeder's daughter was a friend of ours, dear friend of ours, and she mentioned about Hatley because the previous owner was going into palliative care, and we decided to take them on. We thought this would be a perfect pairing. The two brothers together, brought them home. It was a beautiful situation. So we did that, and then unfortunately, like we mentioned before, we had to part with Raph. And so we decided, you know what, maybe we do need to go back into looking into getting some puppies. And Pascal came along.
So it kind of brings me to the fast forward. We found the place in Maple Bay. There was virtually no rentals. So we decided to buy Maple Bay. And it was a great spot. It was a great place just to hang your hat. And even if we had to stay there for a couple of years, because at this point, you really don't know from economy, you don't know from a lot of standpoints, and even job market, right? Like I had a fear that what happens if they let you go?
Yeah.
Right? And not that I had a deep fear about it, but it's like you're just trying to make sure that you're thinking in the future, like what could I do?
Yeah.
Where's the lifeline of what we could do if another storm comes.
And that's kind of what we picked in the next home, which was what we call it the safe house. So we figured, you know what, let's go with something a little bit newer. We didn't have to put too much expenses in. We thought, hey, you know what, we'll take the channel in a different way. We'll go and give a modern perspective of things, because we know that people we did a couple of videos with the historic home. We showed a lot of great details with that. Thought, hey, what about a modern take?
Yeah.
So we got the safe house. We thought, okay, let's go in there.
This takes me into kind of the next topic at hand is YouTube has changed. So from short versus long video. And I noticed too that funding through YouTube and Google, there was some changes. It could be algorithm changes, and I think this is also part and parcel because of economy as well.
So all of that happened. So within our own world, things were changing so rapidly, and also in reflection, so was the platform. YouTube was changing as well. We, like you mentioned, from our experience, and just from our own creator friends have mentioned the same thing, that they also were going through a lot of changes. So for example, they were changing with the algorithm, that changed a bit. The YouTube channel, they started changing. The algorithm changed for them. Also, ad spend was changing for them as well. So we've noticed, and other creators noticed, that revenue went down because it made sense.
But what was interesting, sorry, I don't mean to cut you, but what was interesting is not just that, but what I found really, because you're always kind of studying the analytics. You have the studio analytics for each channel. What I found interesting is views were going up, subscribers were going up, but the actual income's going down.
Yeah, and
so we're kind of sitting here going, do we do paid promotions? Do we do, like, you're trying to figure out how to keep this business working, right? But it's also a love, it's a passion, it's a place that we enjoy coming to and creating and doing and sharing, and even the community that was built in this channel.
Yeah.
So you've got all these variances going on, trying to make, you know, responsible decisions, but you're also trying to make the right decision.
Yeah.
So this takes us into, we moved again, and why?
Yeah.
So we moved from the modern home to this home, and we will do a video tour coming into the 2025 year. We will do that, showing you where we're living and the details of the home. But why did we do that?
Yeah. Well, I think we got more in love going into the interior, into the island, so Vancouver Island, and our friends showed us a lot of nice little pockets, and we just like, you know, and you go on this journey, like, you don't know where you're going to end up. And, you know, like we said, we went to the safe house, we got there, and we knew it wasn't our permanent spot. It was just a place to hold. We thought it was going to first we had
to make a new plan and figure out where
we thought about doing a rental, but like you said, we didn't do that. We thought, okay, this is an opportunity, let's take this as an investment. And so we did. But then, you know, as everybody else, you're experiencing different things, and you say, okay, you know what, maybe this is an opportunity for us to take advantage of how the markets were switching and take a dive in somewhere that we would like. And so,
and permanently,
and think of a nice
I do not
spot.
Want to move, like, I want to grow old here. So it was putting all of these other topics from a personal and, you know, level where you want to be, a place that you can, it's walkable, it's got everything you need, you love the community, and we can get into that at another point, but
it checked boxes all.
It checked all the boxes.
So we decided to take the sponge again.
I still remember your face, Ryan. I'm really, you know, favoring to put this house on the market and sell and move, and you're looking at me again? This would be the third time. Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm.
Third time's a charm.
And we did. So, but it worked out well, and we loved the neighborhood. And, you know,
we've met so many amazing people.
Yeah, we met a lot of people. We met people that live back east, and so we made a lot of friends.
People I work with
in the past year. So it's
the office that I'm at now.
It's been a great thing.
Everything has really wow, and that kind of leads us into why we kind of stopped with the channel, because the stopping with the channel was not I wanted to stop. That wasn't the plan. But between selling the house, the moving,
it was a lot.
It was a lot. Going back into dentistry, I had to do my 5-year continuing cycle, which includes an exam for my certification.
Well, all of those variables, because like you were saying, we weren't sure how, like, with the interest rates going up and everything else, and YouTube's going as well, decreasing for revenue, we had to kind of make some
I felt like we could balance better.
We thought, okay, let's try this, let's do this. And so we had to make those kind of moves quickly.
So I just kind of came to you and I was explaining to you that it's like, okay, let's just break for a second, you know, and I'll let the community know that I'm just going to break. I'm going to focus in on the dental hygiene for a moment. And because I didn't have a plan, I didn't have a plan. Then we moved into here, and it's a lot from packing, moving. The other thing, which also takes me into one of the things I wanted to chime into, is I also noticed that Hatley was slowing down.
Yeah.
And it wasn't breaking my heart in the sense, it's an acceptance. When you have an older dog, and we already got him as a senior, as Raphael's brother, that all I could think about is let me just spend everything I can with him. And I didn't overthink it, I just did it, if that makes sense. I wanted to be around him as much as possible. And we took in Gabriel.
Yes. So we had puppy number 1, which was Pascal,
So he's the little red
our
one.
little red rocket. And then we got Gabriel, which is our big poodle, but he's our puppy still.
Still, yeah.
And so with that was a lot of changes as well. So going through, I'm sure some of you may have gone through as Puppyville, as we call it, and having those two.
And you're getting
Hatley.
even more responsibility yourself
Yep.
from a personal point. You
Yeah.
know, and I think this is a big factor, is you're also getting a lot of responsibility in your job.
Yeah.
So as a team, it's really important that we can rely on each other.
Yes.
Right? So by relying on each other, it's like, okay, you know what? I want to put more eggs in my basket. I want us to be a little bit more sound within our community where we're living.
Yeah.
So there's all of these variances going on. So I just thought, let's just take a break from YouTube.
Yeah.
Let's just wait until 2024. And then when we got here, I felt like a kid in a candy store.
Yeah.
We're meeting people all the time. Things with work were going really well. You know, being out on the boat, being in real life versus video after video. And it's not because I didn't enjoy the videos, but it's this being in reality of people and,
it was a lot for us to take in, and we also needed a break. And so that's kind of why we took a little bit of a gap from YouTube because of many variables, like we mentioned, and it just made sense. It made sense, and then like we said, we lost Hatley.
He passed.
This passed away this past
and he
year,
died peacefully
or in 2024,
with us. And I'm just glad I tuned in that his last segment needed to be braced. We needed to be with him. We needed to spend that quality time.
Yeah.
And I felt like I didn't have that with Raphael because it was all about work. It was all about the move. It was all about this. So I think it was me mentally just kind of feeling like.
With Raph, it was really short. We didn't expect it. It was unexpected. So that's kind of what happened. It took us off guard. With Hatley, it was just a aging of a dog, which we all experienced. And you know what? He was a senior, and and we knew that every day was borrowed time and precious for us, and we saw that.
But we did. We spent a lot of time with him. I think having the 2 younger dogs around him was very, very healthy for him.
Hatley did a road trip with us.
He passed peacefully. Yes, we did the road trip with him.
So that was good. We did a road trip with Hatley, and it was just the 3 of us. And Hatley is an amazing car dog.
He loves the car.
He loves the car. So that was probably, and we've always joked, we always said every poodle gets a road trip.
Yeah.
And so Hatley got a road trip with us as well for his last run.
And we got to do one this year.
Yes.
And we took the 2 puppies, which was a little bit harder because I think that's the youngest we've ever traveled.
Yeah. So we did, as ongoing with Puppyville, we also were crazy enough to take 2 young puppies on a road trip to Arizona.
But it was fun.
It was a great time.
We had a lot of fun.
But it was probably the hottest time of the year. But we had a blast. And it was fun to just take the dogs with us and experience a little bit of a road trip and have a little bit of a break from everything.
Yeah.
So
and what's going through my mind is I want to go back to the channel. But there was also a part of me that was enjoying some peace. You have your job. You're building your life, you're building within the community, you're spending a lot of time with people more one-on-one again. So when I think of everything we've just talked about since we started this video, right? I just think it was a healthy thing to do.
You know what? I think everyone needs a break, and I think that's the things that we kind of have this rush things, work-life balance, and because of what was happening right now with the economy and the environment, it's very uncertain. So I think we were all being pushed, and I know from others we've spoken to that they were all feeling taxed as well.
I feel positive that things are going to change, but they're just not going to change when we want them to.
Yeah.
So we have to be patient, and we have to worry about our mental and physical health, and don't hone in on what you want changed. Focus on the things that you can change.
I think just from what we've been talking about, what we had a plan, And life does not just, you know, like we all kind of put a plan together and, but
that's my New Year's resolution.
Yeah, like there's no plan.
That's my New Year's resolution. I have no plan.
Yeah.
I'm going to go day by day, week by week.
And I think that's all we can all do. I think that's the best thing. I think when you put things in plan, okay, it's nice to organize and have something in plan and a set, but it never does go that way.
Not always, but
not on a good. I think it's not always just
life
bad.
Is going to throw you those
curveballs, and I think
your plan may change.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
And I think we've experienced that, and I think that was probably one of the lessons to learn. Moving 3 times, losing a couple loved ones.
Yep.
That is that time that things, as much as you want to plan something, it will always go.
I also
in a different way.
I also feared trying to make myself participate in videos that my headspace wasn't there, like that.
Yeah.
Because I wanted the videos to always be a space where it's calming. It's a safe space. This is not a political space. This is not a negative space. And when you're not feeling you're 100% positive, you know, you don't want people to feel, you know, I don't know how else to articulate it other than, you know, you want to put positivity, or I do, into the world, into the channel. But if you're not feeling it 100%, you're feeling...
Yeah, and I think that's the whole premise of the channel. I think what it was is a place for everyone to come and just kind of unwind and forget about all the other things that's happening in the world and just have fun.
Yeah.
And I think
our world needed its own DIY revisions.
Yeah, I think we needed our own DIY. I think from what was happening to us, we need to DIY ourselves.
Yeah, and it's also part of coming to a different territory where you're living, meeting new friends, co-workers, responsibilities at work, pets, you know, puppies, you know, it's like new parents who have children. Like, you're excited, but there's also a lot of changes.
Lots of changes.
You know, that kind of go, it's not negative, but this, you know, you've got to adapt to it.
Yeah.
So we needed that kind of break to adapt into our life here.
Yeah.
So that takes me to where we're at now. So when I look at YouTube at the beginning versus now, okay, and it's not to, you know, trailblaze into too much about, but I wanted to mention that when we started the channel, I love the idea of being able to show what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't really put a lot of thought into the timing, the editing, those kind of things. So I enjoyed sharing, right? But fast forward over 4 years, there was so much that changed in how the videos are being made.
Yeah.
You know, from, you know, equipment, lighting, sound, which even this video, I think we could do way better for lighting and sound.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
You know, this is the thing, like you're investing into better props, you're investing into better, and even subscriptions, music, all of this stuff. So you're learning as you go in your channel. But what I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but it kind of took away the charm sometimes, because when we're doing things because we genuinely want to share, it's like, hey, come on over. I'm going to put on a pot of coffee. I've put some biscuits out, you know, and some scones. Let's just sit around, have a jam and chat. It just has a natural flow.
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes when it's too much planning and too much everything, the stress becomes too much versus the event of it. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. Totally makes sense.
So it's not a bad thing. It's just I found that from the beginning to the end that those were things that I found different about the channel. And I kind of just miss being able to put on the camera, not worried that I have all these different angles and transitions and sounds. And, but I mean, you want to make it production valued. I get that. But there's been those kind of changes that you learn to grow with it, but then it's just, I guess what I'm saying is it took away from the creative of what the video is about.
Yeah.
It's about how to make the video versus what I'm actually making sometimes. And maybe that's because we're a low man-powered channel. It's just the two of us.
It's just the two of us, and it's a lot of work on, you know, from producing a video, not just doing the actual activities itself, you know, the renovations or the home decor, whatever the project is for that video.
Yeah.
It's all about all the other things we do, from, like you said, sound, lighting, to the editing.
I
to
just don't know how many
processing.
times we've sat down at dinner and I'm basically, you know, pouring a glass of whining to you about, well, the camera fell over and then this happened, and you know, so you're already having simple mistakes that happen. It's like walking and you trip. It happens. And now I've got to go back, or something happened with the camera, or something got interfered.
Well, it's just like with this, we actually had this one, remember this video? So our audio,
and there's this ticking sound.
And there's a little ticking sound and crackling, so we had to go and upgrade and some new audio, and that's what we actually did for this video. We're just getting some new things.
Well, there is some channels that have been on the platform for probably double what we've had, but they do, and that's an amazing thing that they're able to create, because they have people who can edit, they have people who can work on the ambiance of what the video is going to be filmed in. Yeah. Right? It's almost all those credits that you see at the end of a program. Like, there are people who were part of the creation of that documentary or film or television series that you've seen. Yeah. Whereas as people who are YouTubers, it's a very small, more, you know, it's something you grow into. And the thing is from a financial standpoint, maybe if we had, you know, escalated the channel or started it earlier on the platform, we may have been able to grow it. But I guess I'm kind of looking at it, I like the charm of it's just us.
It is, and I think it's just the evolution. I think when we started out with YouTube, there was a change, and you can see with YouTube itself, the platform it's been a dynamic change. Maybe from an audience perspective, you don't see those changes, but from a creator standpoint, there is a lot of changes, and we had to adapt with them. And some of those changes, we had to also see was it good for our audience? You know, some of the things that YouTube was putting out was the long form or short form videos.
I think it was the shorts.
With those, and the shorts.
The trend of the whole TikTok version of things.
And those are things that we had to consider for our channel, but also does it work for our crowd? We have to look for that. We have to look into those things.
But it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No,
but the thing is,
change is good.
YouTube as an algorithm wants people to stay on the platform and enjoy the experience and stay on the experience, right? Yeah. So it's reading those analytics. And then you've got a whole audience that they're calculating, you know, from the super young, you know, to the middle-aged, to the retired, right? And what are their wants and needs on the platform? Yeah. So as creators, we're taking in our own data, and now we're trying to figure out, okay, what is it, you know, because I kind of felt, and it's something we can talk further in another time, but I kind of just felt like if I wasn't doing short form, I felt like it wasn't being shown, because it's too long, whereas I feel like the feedback from the audience is like, we prefer a little bit longer with the detail.
And we had to adapt to that. And that was kind of that's kind of the growing pains with any creator that's on YouTube. They have to figure out what their audience is looking for. And also what the algorithm or what the system allows us to show our videos out there.
So also to discuss on here is new content ideas.
Yes, so that's
because I kind of want to come into this whole thing with fresh concepts.
With 2025, I think new ideas, and we've asked the audience about that. Like sometimes we put those polls out to see what would people like.
So here's what's interesting. Okay, and we can talk further about it later. But what I found really interesting is you put a poll out, and it's the complete opposite of what your analytics tell you. So we're gonna have to maybe, really dig into that a little bit more, because some of the best performing videos, which has brought a lot of people to the channel, right, are, when I go to do a poll, are the least desired. So you've got the people who are really trying to communicate with you through the videos and the polls and through the community on your channel board. But when you go into your analytics, right, and for a video's analytics, it's from the time it was posted. So if you posted a video from 3 years ago, it may have just kind of coasted along and then it spiked up.
Yeah.
So these are people who have joined the channel more recently versus people who were originally there. So again, you're trying to make sure that you're recognizing all these details, but we can get more into it at another point. But I kind of wanted to put that out there because it's a mixed signal to a creator. Whereas if this is performing this well, where you are reaching 1 million plus views on a video, you think, well, that's probably what the audience wants to see a little bit more of, right? Whereas you try to look at I look at it, personal analytics is what people are leaving in the comments. When they leave comments, that's us and them communicating. And to me, that has a huge value to the channel. Yeah,
I agree.
Because the audience is the foundation of the channel.
The audience is the channel.
Trends versus classics, just something I wanted to just quickly chat about, but again, we can get more into it. When we started the channel, it really wasn't so much about following trends, and trends are not a bad thing. I think what it is revising old ideas and bringing them to a new market, and it's almost like, what could we do better with what was a trend? So for example, as just quickly as an idea, like wallpaper was something that was kind of like 60s, 70s kind of style, maybe even later date. And then now wallpaper is trying to come back in, but it's got its own kind of version of it.
A new twist to it.
Yes, a more modern update. So I think what I want to be able to do is do videos when it comes to DIY or home decorating is kind of stick more towards classics, but I'd also like to hear more from the community standpoint, because trends are always popular. And I look at trends, but I try not to overly follow them, if that makes sense. The other thing, which we actually already talked about, was the audience polls, wants, and requests versus what Studio Analytics was telling us. And then the 2025 plans of testing. And this is what we're doing now, but we want to be able to take up a notch. So if we want to sit and have more discussion videos and hear what the audience is giving us for feedback, I thought it would be great that me and you could have episodes maybe once or twice a month where we can kind of sit down, make the audio better, like we can get the Rhodes mic so we can hear, and really get more into specific topics and have discussions about what we're planning, what we're thinking about doing, and getting feedback, because like we said, the audience on this channel is the channel. So I think if we can have these communicative episodes and make them better.
I think
this is brand new. So I'm going to look back at this in a year from now and go, oh my God, is that what we sounded like?
And we can definitely, these are things that we, in response to what we've heard from the crowd, that they kind of want us to be on camera and to talk about some topics, like some, topics that are relevant to the channel. For example, let's say home decor, what are some of the considerations?
But what about topics too, though, Ryan, where we can talk about life, like some, I mean, politics is a huge thing, and it's not because we want to talk about politics, but economy, what's a good way to budget, mental health, things are getting overwhelming, or you're not feeling 100%. Like, what do you do to cope and you know what I mean? Like, filter through these kind of scenarios. So I thought maybe having those kind of open doors, and then which we talked about the other night, which was a really good idea, is we've been really having a lot of fun entertaining. So what about having some videos about how to entertain, or ideas of how to entertain?
And these are things
but keep it on budget.
We want to talk to the crowd about that. Is that something we can do? Like we have some of the, the DIY home decor items we've made. Well, what about items that are for entertaining, even recipes, things like that. All those things.
How we put the table together. How we've done it, even from game stations to making it fun to entertain at home, but you really don't have to spend a lot. I think it's how you put the creative idea and spread together. So, because we've come out with some amazing appetizer ideas,
Yeah.
even your bread making, like.
Love to share all that, so that might be kind of fun just to put as part of the channel.
But it doesn't take away from the way we do videos now, and it doesn't
No.
take away from the actual videos that we still like to do. It's just adding, making it better, growing it.
Yeah.
So that was
a topic we wanted to talk to the channel about.
And then lastly, what I wanted to talk about is long versus the short version. And I'd really like to have the audience input on that. Is I like long version videos, but that's my personal preference. So I realize everybody has a preference in that, but I find it way more difficult and time consuming to make a video. So let's say I do a couple of DIYs. It's so much easier to make a long form video, right?
Yeah.
Properly edited so you can,
Yeah, the take-home message is trying to...
But the more I condense that video, the more I have to take out, to me, viable information and kind of that... There's a processing time. So when I'm watching something to learn by it, I need to process the information as I'm seeing the information brought to my attention. Does that make sense? But when everything is like super quick, I only got one or two of those things, and I feel like I gotta watch it again and again and again. And I guess I'm just saying, I prefer longer videos versus the shorter, but I want the community's input on that.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's a case of having the one small video. It's a 10-minute video. It's a small little DIY or some of these other topics that we're talking about, and have longer videos.
And that's part of the things that we can ask the audience for the feedback and see where it goes.
Well, I think this was a good chat, and I think this was a really good foundation base on things that we would like to talk more about, and get a little bit more deeper about. And, I think it's just really important that the channel kind of see through our eyes where things have gone, where it's come to. And we are super happy to be back, but I think it's true to say that I am going into 2025 with no plan.
No plans.
I want to go day by day. I want to be positive. I want to create again. But how the sequence is really going to parlay, I think it's just a case of keep going.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
That's all we're going to do.
So thank you for joining us today. We're looking forward to seeing you really soon. And until then, take care.